Looks like we're live now. I'll just confirm things real quick. Let's see, where's my meta? Okay, looks like we're live now. Perfect. Let's like ourselves. Awesome. So what are we doing today? Anyway, what are we doing today? Today I'm trying to continue or finish with the work we were doing yesterday, which is like a partial updater, and a good way you can think of this, and probably the most relevant place you would encounter this is when you're working with your database, and if you've got something like an update statement, especially in that context. So what usually happens is when you create a data in the database, let's say it's a user, when you're trying to update, typically you don't. There are two ways you could update, right? You could have a put operation or a patch operation. So what's the difference between a put and a patch operation? Varun Go, do you work as a software engineer anywhere? Right now, I'm just working on this project. Yeah, but I've been working as a software engineer for about how many years now? I'd say 7 to 8 years. But right now, I've just been working on this project and trying to get him out. How are you doing today? And thanks for joining the stream. Let's check this. I'm just trying to make sure that everything is in order. Perfect. Yeah, so this is typically, imagine, and what was I saying? Okay, so imagine a situation whereby, and yeah, by the way, shout out to Varun Go. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Where are you chatting from? And how did you find the channel? It's good to have you here. And yeah, let me know if you have other questions, suggestions, recommendation. But as I was saying, so basically when you're trying to update an object in the database, sometimes you could have like a put operation or a patch. So what are the difference, or what is the difference between, what are the differences or the difference? The main difference between a put and a patch operation is that typically when you're putting, you want to update all the fields. So when you, let's say, let me find an example. If you've got a user struct in a put operation, you could have put, and you could also have, so this is put, and you could also have patch, right? So when you're putting, basically you're overriding, you're replacing everything, or replacing, and when you're patching, you are only changing, you're overriding all. Let me put it that way, overriding all, and this would be overriding or replacing some, or the specified, basically. That's the difference. So in this kind of scenario, when you've created a struct, it will be very cumbersome for you to have to, let's say you want to do user, you need to create a user, let's say you update everything, but you want to update user, right? So let's say you might want to do something like user update, then you create a copy of that, and let's say you do something like this. Now it doesn't include ID because you cannot update ID, so you're updating other fields, and then you do this, something like this, and you include the other fields, right? But having to do this over and over again for every update you're trying to make can be cumbersome, right? So that is the problem. We want to support a way for you to update specific fields. Let's say you just want to update name and screen name. You should be able to do that, or just location, right? So what are some ways to get around this? If you're serializing with Serde, one way to do that is you can have something like this user partial. So what I'm doing in this stream, actually thinking it through now, doing the experiment live. I've not done this before, and I'm just thinking through the process. So now let's say you've got user partial, right? With these attributes, you can say skip serializing if it's none, right? So it's gonna skip this. But I implemented this yesterday, and it's all good. It works. But something that actually came to my mind. Imagine you're trying to update user. So now let's say you have a function which says update user name. You just want to update name, and in that case, let's say you've got, I don't know, one of these fields is originally optional. Let's say screen name is optional, right? Yep. Screen name is optional, right? In which case this would be double optional. If we go with this naive way of doing user partial, of course you could do something like updated user. You could have something like this, and then you say, let's say user partial. Let's go user partial 2, because I just copied it from down to avoid collision. So let's say we call this like user partial 2. So what you could do is you could say screen name, and you specify screen name. So let's say some, and what could that be? Let's do something like this. So now we've got this, and of course other fields are missing. So we could do something like default to right. Oh yeah, no. Okay, so now you've got something like this. And actually, to have clarity, I'm gonna comment this all out so we can think through the problem clearly. So let's copy these. So let's have our main here. Do main, and what we could do is, let's say updated, we can do user. Basically I'll just copy this, and yep. So we've got this function. First I'll keep this, let's comment this out first. Let's have this, and let's try to log this. So print updated user. Perfect. Actually, what we want to do instead is Serde JSON to string, and add reference, and then we unwrap that. So we get that, and we can log that. Okay, actually we want that down here. So let's try to log this now. Maybe I'll put it on the side, clear, pwd. So let's do cargo watch. Let's run that. Okay, so that includes only OLO, the screen name. It skips others, right? Because we said option is none. If we would remove, let's say, that from name, or let's use something different, location, and let's see this rerun. Now location is there, but it's as that as null, and but in database null is actually a valid value, right? Okay, in a database null is a valid value, so it's not every time we would want to allow skipping of it. So in the case of screen name, I think it will be a legitimate case to want to be able to say none, right? Oh yeah, I should probably rip that off so we don't have the duplicate. So yeah, let's say yeah, you want to say none. But the problem now, it skips everything, but none is a valid value, which in the context of database, null is valid. But if we do none, it's gonna skip it. So a naive implementation of this wouldn't take that into consideration, which is what we have currently. We're saying that when option is none, then skip this. But then we get into this kind of situation whereby we actually want to set a field to none, basically null in database, because it's a valid value, but because we're saying we're doing a conditional serialization, it's going to skip the serialization of that field, and that's what you can see here. It gives us nothing, right? So how can we get around this? Okay, that's a good question, and this is something I started to think through. So let's say we create a function, it's whatever it is, let's call this is valid. Now let's leave it as is. Now let's remove, in the case of screen name, we're saying it as none, right? But now let's do some to be interesting. So let's do this. But now screen is actually returning null. It's been serialized as null rather than being skipped, right? But let's set this to let's set this to true. Now it skips it, right? Then we can take this idea and apply it into our implementation. So what we're gonna do is, rather than using optional, right, we're gonna create our own pattern around it so that we can avoid a situation whereby a user tries to set a value. In this situation, let's just remove that. A user tries to set screen name as not, but it is being skipped. So what can we do? We can create a new construct. Let's have a new enum. So the enum takes, let's call that maybe, or custom maybe. So we can, the maybe is an enum that takes either t or none, right? So something like that. So it takes value or nothing. Oh, let's change that. So we're gonna create our own construct, and what can we do with this information? So basically we can create, let's say we can come here and do basically, have something like is is none, but this is none would be different. So what would this none be? Let's take just a reference to that instance, and basically all it does, we can use matches self, and that's none, right? And okay, let's put that it is that, and a sum would just be, basically we can do is a sum. Let's do something like that. It's just the inverse of that, right? So we can do the inverse or negation of is none, pretty much. Good. So what we're going to do now is, rather than use an option, right, we are going to use maybe or through right here. So use maybe there. The outer part uses maybe, right? Great. But now it says this, maybe U3 doesn't implement clone. So basically what we're gonna do, it can get a little bit tricky though, but we will get around that. So what we can do basically, yeah, there are no defaults. Okay, the default, let's put a marker here as default, something like that. Perfect. So pretty much what we're doing here now would be maybe, right? Because it's an associated function. So now when we set in the screen name, we can do something like maybe this would be, so what we can actually do is, let's try to create a builder out of this, or in the meantime, let's leave that first. What we're gonna do is, it's maybe, right, maybe none, can do that first, and these says keep serializing if maybe none. Let's stick to that, maybe it's none. So well, this keeps that because we are saying maybe is none, right? But how about maybe being some, right? I believe, or value. Let's change it to some, right? So what if maybe some, but the value itself is none? Remember, the outer part is just a wrapper. You see, the value is still being serialized. However, the value is still being serialized, but however, we're getting null. Great. But we don't want it to be this way, so we can use Surde, I believe was the name of the attribute. Surde and tagged, right? So yeah, that does the magic. let's make sure that everything is in order. So this does the magic. Now we are able to serialize it, but when the user doesn't specify it, so if a user will just skip that, where's that? Basically main. So if a user would try to okay, so if a user will skip that also, it's just going to be empty, but if a user specifies it, it's going to work out. So what we can do, let's try to use a type builder here. Type builder, because I love compile time checks, always the best in my opinion. Of course you can add to your compilation stuff, but I don't care about compilation speed. So we just specify, let's say the ID. In this case the ID is just going to be so Saturday is not going to be able to strip this, but we're going to have our own custom implementation, so we might as well just do that anyway, because when you're using type builder, you could do something like builder, and then we've got you could have like default, then I believe set into, or something like that. So essentially this is a way for you to not like have to, so when you're using the builder, so you don't have to do something like sum then the value, right? You can just write the value right here, and it skips the value if the value isn't present at all, right? But we're going to have our own custom implementation, and essentially what we're going to do is create a builder for this. So I'm just still ideating. We'll bring all these things into fruition soon, into the system. So let's just implement a builder for that. Let's implement a builder for user partial 2. So let's implement user partial 2. So we're gonna have, I think I have it probably, yeah. So we can do, let's go and 3. So we have something like this, and essentially we could just so rather than saying ID, we could say maybe value, or maybe some, right? We could say maybe some. And of course we could probably implement a converter, but anyway, that's not the that's not the most important thing. So we could have maybe some, then this basically just returns that, and we have that. Let's remove all them zeros. Yes. Maybe some. So mismatch. Well. Screen name. Yeah, so this is gonna be actually option because it's double. So basically that. So let's try to use that right away. Our custom implementation, and let's just to keep the implementation simple. We'll still come back to this. Let's implement a constructor which returns basically these and these defaults, or we can actually just, well, do user.default, and now we specify that. So what happens? ID is present, others are skipped. But let's see what happens when we have screen name. Remember that screen name itself is optional. If you go to, the idea is that in the original struct, screen name is optional, right? So what should happen, at least what I would expect a user to expect, is that when you have screen name, of course you could have lower, right, that presents that as a screen name, right? But what if a user specifies that as none? I think the expected behavior is that screen name is also included, but as null, because in the database world, at least for the current implementations of most database engines that I'm aware of, Postgres, like all the relational database management system basically, and SurrealDB, which is the engine I'm currently supporting, they all support null value. So null is a valid value, and in that case, if a user sets a field as none, we don't want to skip that field. So because of this construct, because of this situation, we cannot use the default option construct in Rust, because if we use that, then and we naively just use the Saturday option is none function, then even if a user explicitly, if a user says a screen name is none, it's going to skip that field. But when a user explicitly says a field is none, we don't want to skip the field. We just want to serialize it as null. But for every field a user doesn't specify, we want to skip it, because having null is a valid value, because you want to override the current value and set it to, well, nothing. So because of that, we would have to do something like this. So this is what I'm trying to implement directly into the engine I'm building. Now that we've tested the construct and it works, I think maybe let's go back to the other RAM. So this is what I'm thinking. We should probably have maybe constructs within the query builder world. Yep. So what we're gonna do is so what's the best place to have this? I will functions, statement, types. Yeah, I think types is kind of reasonable place to put it. So I'll create a type called maybe, right? And well, we're gonna do that now. So we're just gonna bring the same implementation here, and we call it maybe, which is generic over the value. And I'm thinking, even though Copilot is saying we should use just or nothing, do we want, maybe we want to stay as closer to Rust construct as possible. We just want something a little bit different. Of course, we can have our own option. We can name it the same thing, but to make it easy for the consumer to differentiate, we're going to do something like this. And we want to make it serializable, so we're going to derive these, make it clonable too, maybe. And what else? Of course, serialize, like I said. And maybe deserialize even, but at least those. those. And we actually want to use SurrealORM. So what we want to do is we want to implement let's implement pub function is sum and is none, and this could have just been a negation. Then now that we've got that out of the way, we are going to go into our builder and utilize this, but first let's export this. I don't know, I could probably do something like that, and I'll call this maybe, right? That's for the most part what we need. So maybe some serialize, now in the scope. Okay, yeah, we need to import that. Yep, we need to import that. Good. So now that we've got that, missing the documentation. When the value is present, when the value is absent, then returns the number, no checks the present, checks if the value is absent, and yep, pretty much it. So I'll call this good. The second stuff we want to do is yep, not that yet. Implement a custom maybe type. Okay, yep. So now that we have that out of the way, what we can essentially do is I believe that was implemented struct partial. So rather than using option is none, we actually want to do create name maybe is none, right? We want to use maybe is none because we're trying to use the maybe from our own maybe, which is great. And yeah, we actually want to, so the great thing here is that right here we want to do create name and maybe that's yep, usually we want that to be serializable, but anyway, so we want that to be maybe. Where else do we need to change? We need this to be, let's say create name maybe. Yep, and this would be IO create name maybe. And actually what we want to do perhaps is, let's say an FM path is gonna be path maybe fm, maybe fm path. We want to get a crate name, so let's do format crate name. Yep, something like this maybe, and then because if we interpolate that way, then it's not going to evaluate that at compile time. So we can just do something like this. All right, so basically that should help us deal with that struct partial field method. So now this is gonna be, let's create create name maybe some, yeah, yep, maybe. Okay, so let's look at the usage partial builder. Okay, yeah, so basically just includes the field. Okay, looks good to me. We still have one more stuff, but I'll come back to that. So essentially we are skipping the relate field, but that is also problematic. Imagine if this field is relate and we are skipping it, then no other field is using the lifetime generics A and the type param generics T. So in that case, we're gonna get some compile time error. So there are two ways we could circumvent this, at least that first occur to me. The first is we can get all the relate fields and even the IDs and get all the generics used there, lifetime or type param generics or const generics, and then we filter those from the struct level generics. That is the first thing we can do. Or we might be able to use phantom data. That is the second thing. So we just kind of use the phantom data to hold that, and we're gonna skip that field anyways. So the phantom data will hold all the generics for the fields, for the struct, so that we don't get some compile time error. And yeah, but then you can argue that maybe the filtering is what you would want, because if you're not trying to update this relate field, then you don't want to have to specify the generics, right? Since you're not updating the field, you don't want to have to specify the generics, because in this case now you might have to, because it cannot be inferred since you cannot specify the relate field, because the relate field is just a read-only field, so it's not serialized. It's not serializable. It's been skipped because it's essentially a many-to-many join. So because of this, you might belong to a school of thought, school of that wants that to be skipped or kept. So if we filter this, the benefit of that is if the relate field is the only, let's say like rocket, is the only field with the types, the generics basically, you wouldn't have to specify that when you're calling that type, when you're utilizing it, right? So that's one thing. But you can also argue that the partial state of the original struct is should reflect it should reflect the struct nominal type as much as possible, or like, I mean, structural type as much as possible, the original struct. The only thing is that all these fields are optional. But if you have, you can make the argument that if a field is a many-to-many relation field, which is just read-only, it's not going to be present in the database anyway, because it's just metadata provided to the struct for you to be able to do some nice read-only operations. So you can make the argument for both. And I am just sort of like trying to think through this and the approach that would be ideal. I'm gravitating towards skipping it, because for the user, the benefit of this is you're not going to be ever updating that field because it's read only, right? So one, the user doesn't have to specify that those generics in case the field is the only one using it and it cannot be inferred. Then the second is that a read-only field doesn't represent a state of the database because it's read-only. It's just a kind of like metadata provided in your code for you to be able to derive some data from other tables by joining them, right? So that is my thoughts on that. But Yep. So okay. There's so I'm gonna restart this just to now we'll do the skipping after that. And we're gonna implement the skipping. Maybe it's complaining about do we even need to implement default in this context? Although maybe T should be implemented and that should be none, but do we even need that? I think we're on the part of here. Default is not implemented here. Let's restart. Yep. So is never used. Of course it is. I'm guessing. So let's just restart, just to be sure everything is working as it should. I can actually put that back. So once we're able to implement this and it works, I think it will give us the opportunity to eat our cake and all it. So let's see what we got here. It's still saying expected function tuple struct or fun. SurrealORM maybe. Okay. Might have meant one of should be maybe some. Let's check that. That should be probably maybe baby, don't be afraid. Show your love. Give me what you're looking. But we have that here actually. So what I'm gonna do is let's just expand that and find out. So why is that saying no expected? Oh yeah, it should be H9. Yep. Yep. So what we actually want to do is go back to where was that? So that's fine by me. So wake me up when he's up. So let's see what that gives. We might actually have to clear these out first, at least from there. Yeah. Okay, let's wait for this to load. Then we will do the struct filtering, the generic filtering, so that we don't get some compile time error when the field we're skipping in our struct definition, partial update our struct definition are not present. So that's fine by me. Don't wake me up when it's over. And I'm wiser and older. Still compiling. It's taking so much time. Let's try this. Let's see. So I'm gonna try to expand that and see. Okay, we've got some expansion here. It looks like this might actually compile, but first let's see. Got quite a bit to actually okay, so we're probably gonna give this some time to be done with the compilation. Just like an ember, I can really start just fire, but I know I will one day. Everybody hurts sometime, everybody hurts someday. Everything's gonna be alright. Where's a flag and say, used to be one that we got, used to be what you could not get a dream about. Everything will be true. Those are the ones in the day. Those are the ones that we lost. Gotta get me back on the knees. And you back and bring back do 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 bring back do 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 just fire everybody hurts sometime, everybody hurts someday. Everything's gonna be alright. Gonna survive and say, these are the ones that we got. Tears to the wish you were here, but you not got the changing back on the memory. Everything we can do. Those are the ones in the day. Those are the ones that we lost in the way. Gotta bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back, the memories bring back. So let's see all the errors we've got. We've got a few. So we're just gonna import that. Import these. Everybody hurts someday. Everything's gonna be alright. Go raise a flag and say, yeah. Everything will stay the same. No more heart was like an ember. Another time. I carry this fire. I know I will one day. Everybody hurts sometime. Everybody hurts someday. Everything's gonna be alright. We're the flag and say, this is the one that we got. This is the reason we got it. I got it. Everything we do. Those are the ones you had to take. Those are the ones that I'm gonna wake up to do. Actually, we even probably shouldn't even be doing that. Maybe we could add the bug and default is probably fine. Type. The bug could be fine there. T is now used. Okay. So this should be partial updater. That's one thing. Partial updater. I wonder struct partial. Okay, so this should be partial updater. There were times that I remember when I did not know no pain, when I believed in forever, everything would stay the same. Now my heart is like an ember, and it's lighting up the dark. I carry these touches for you, but I know I will one day. Everybody hurts sometime, everybody hurts someday. Everything's gonna be alright. Go around the flag and say, here's to the ones that we go. Here's to the wish you never got. I remember all the memories of everything we've been through. Those are the ones here today. Those are the ones that we make. Cause the dreams bring back all the memories. The memories bring back you. Oh, you. Okay, so let's try this once more. Let's delete that yeah, maybe we comment this out just to be sure. What if we actually do cd models, cd models, and let's cargo check that. There were times that I remember when I didn't know no pain, when I believed in forever, everything would stay the same. I was lighting up the dark, I carry these torches for you. Everybody hurts sometime, everybody hurts someday. Everything's gonna be alright. Go and raise a flag and say, here's to the one that we go. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the dreams bring back our memories of everything we've been through. Those are the ones you today. So soon on my way. And the memories bring back. Bring back you. Memories bring back, memories bring back you. Yep, so it looks like we are good. I might have to fix a couple of stuff, but we'll still do the filtering. But first, at least give me some more night. Give me one more night, 'cause a million more nights I can. So this compiles now, and with this you would be able to do something like, let's go to line 30 and we can say weapon, like weapon of mass destruction. Destruction of the poor is poverty. Lord, do you hear? Do you hear? I really wanna rule my destiny. Holy Lord, yeah. Say we call destiny. Mama look for when you call it. Mama look for when you call it. I wanna rule my destiny. Oh, hey, by peace. Jaja really wanna rule my destiny. Yay! My destination is who I work. Yeah, I know I must get to, no matter what I want. Destiny, Mama look for when you call it. Yeah, Mama look for when you call it. I wanna rule my destiny. Hey, oh papi, I really wanna rule my destiny. I've been your body ends up on you. Ooh, I'm actually thinking there might be some other ways, but we won't be able to do that at compile time, I don't think, because we don't have access to that. Because I'm thinking we could actually check the inner. We could check that the inner option is not none. but there isn't a way to write a function because we don't have access to that information at compile time. I'm sure we can find a way around it. I'm sure. And because not every field would have like would have double option. But anyway, so that is probably not the way to go. But then you can do view. This gives you this. I know I must get through, no matter what the ground. Destiny. And I can specify rocket also. And the beauty of this is if I'm gonna do like rocket, right? I could just do rocket on partial builder, and I could just build it also, and I'm good. I mean, I need to specify the generics. So let's take that as U32 also. Lifetime, could we so misty, it's naturally misty, so we go struct partial, and we are actually not interested in the partial builder, but we are interested in the partial itself. So struct partial, I don't know if that's a, so struct partial, that's what we're interested in. Not the builder. The builder isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for the resolve state. So basically it's the struct partial, so like users partial. So we'll have to go to first, let's do node where we're putting partial builder. In fact, what we want here is like struct partial, and rather than taking the builder, we actually want the right. Oh, actually we might need this T. Do we need the builder at all in this context? I mean, why couldn't we have both? We can have both. So we could have the partial builder, then we could also have the struct partial. All right, so we could just include that, but yeah, struct partial, let's include that also. So we can do let me be after togetherness is all I'm after. Cause if he doesn't, I'll be there. Cause that's actually what we want there. So we can go to model. I'll be there, and that should be an updater. So we also want struct partial. Yep. Yeah. Partial state of the original struct. Model table struct. So yep. Not all trade implemented. Not all trades implements. Not all trades item implemented missing. Struct partial. It's for objects. Weapon is defined multiple times. Where we are. Okay, yeah. Another trade. Struct partial is missing. In no way. Here we go. Yeah, it's not missing, and here also it's not missing. It's not missing here. So you know what? We just first take that. Take. What else? Start all. Take that. Include struct partial in addition to struct partial builder to as associated type for struct and partial data. Yep, so yep, go here. Let's close and open this just to be sure. To reload things. Reload it. At least give me one. Still loading. Rust analyzer. Tell me why I this me big girl. Don't leave me this me. Once I can finish this, and I'll just do some cleanup, update the tests. Maybe before actually updating the tests or writing tests for it, then I'll just go through the code base and update the models in the example test.
Because I've changed quite a bit of things, and a lot of things might actually not work, so it might still require a lot of work. So there were a lot of things that I was using as string literal, but parsing the data structure out of it. For example, the table name. Now you can actually have a table name as both a string literal or just an identifier. Another would be for an expression. So you don't have to stringify an expression now if you're like annotating your field. So you have an attribute as an expression. You don't have to stringify it, but you still can stringify it. I believe so. I believe I implemented that. Then for types, for simple types, you can just specify the type or the path to the type. If it's not got any generics, but if it's got generics, then you have to actually stringify it. Like so, cool. All right. So what are we getting? Okay. Yep. So as you can see here, for example, we could do this or we could do this. Both should work. Perfect. So what if we run PWDC models cargo check? Let's see that.
Okay, so as you can see, this compiles now, and that is good. Compose. I might just do some cleanups. Okay, it's not a binary, so let's try the. So we've got a partial builder here, so you can see now we're able to do something interesting like this, right? And we wouldn't actually. So what if we try to take this as a string? Yeah, it's expecting that. So I'm actually expecting that this shouldn't this be able to inherit? Yeah, it should be able to inherit from that definition because we're propagating the generics and whatever, which is good. And that's why in the previous stream it's good that we didn't try to use the generics and basically the lifetime type param generics at the associated function level but at the struct level. So as you can see, yeah, we wouldn't have to specify the generics explicitly if we, so it's going to complain because the generics isn't this. But imagine if we had a field called me something, or let's call it something. If we had a generic something, and let's say it's of type float, and or like it's of type int. If we would specify something here and we put 45, then it should infer that. Yeah, so with this you can just put in optional fields. How cool is that? Because you're not specifying the type here, then you might have to do utility, and that should work. Otherwise, if you specify it, then it's cool. So you can only specify the field you need. As you can see in Rocket, we're only specifying, basically we're specifying nothing, but we can also do like something too, and the value is actually can also be none. So we can do something like this, and but now it's going to serialize none as null, which is what you would expect in this kind of scenario. Because like I said earlier, a database none or null is value. Like null is a valid type of database. So I'm quite excited about this. I'm really happy with this new implementation because it works as I would expect it. I would expect it work. So like if we would need a type, we could just alias that and say let's call it la la. So you can do. If you want to get the whatever type, you can just do weapon as partial updater, then you can get struct partial. You feel me? So if you would go to yeah. Oh baby, please, let's leave the past behind us, so that we can know where love will find us. So now that this works, what we can start doing is basically we can start this works. I'm excited. Why don't we create a binary out of this? Let's call this mid.rs. Essentially, paste that. Let's I should do. So let's do function main. Let's just print. Do I have solid JSON here? Okay, the way I want is solid JSON. Okay, great. Great. So let's run it. So we've been able to implement the partial updater, which means basically, imagine if you'll be working on this in your project, you could basically specify the optional field. In addition to being able to specify the optional field, you can actually set a value to none. So like, let's see what this yields. We're compiling the code. After compiling this code, we're gonna get null, which is what you would expect. But if you would skip this field, it should skip that field itself. But if you specify it as none explicitly, it's going to include the field but as null. So let's see what we get. This is taking a while. Okay, what are we getting? Are we getting some undeclared type weird one? Oh, I need to import that, of course. Yep. Yeah, let's import that. Then let's import. We can actually just remove this whole stuff. Let's import rocket. Yeah, so let's rerun that. Yeah, so as you can see, we're getting the name, we're getting some, and the nested field of rocket, we're also getting some too, but as null. So let's try it. Let me put this on the right so you can see what I'm saying. So let's take this out as rocket. But let's try to skip this now. If we try to skip this entirely, let's see what happens. As you can see, that field something 2 is now being skipped. But if you specify it explicitly, it will be included, but as not. Let's do that again. Cargo run. So now you can see that, I don't know, you can see here from this place, it's specified as null. So that is what we want. So let's do something, the original something, and let's do 0907 or 907. Let's run that again. So again, something also. How about we skip something on the top level struct and we include strength? We might have to specify the type here as u. Let's just say u32. So now we're getting strength, but now it's keeping at the top level we're getting name strength, but it's keeping something too. So what if we come in our rocket? Let's see. We come in our rocket. Now it's keeping rocket out together. So this is what we want. This is what I want. It's burning my heart, it's burning my soul. Now I believe in this thing called love. I believe, oh, I believe in you and me. I believe, oh, I believe in you and me. It's burning my heart, it's burning my soul. Now I believe in this thing called love. I believe, oh, I believe in you and me. So this does what we want already, and the great thing about this is that the definition itself is tied to the original struct, so you don't have to be looking for whatever, just have everything you want. It's good, good. I'm pretty pumped, pretty pumped. And what else? I think that's the main thing for now. And I just need to make sure that everything compiles well and works, and fix the remaining bug. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll take a quick break while I think through things. So basically we're done with the implementation of it. Oh, we need to do the filtering. That reminds me. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. It's burning my heart, it's burning my soul. Now I believe in this thing called love. I believe, oh, I believe. Yeah. So the easy fix for that would be to just come here. So let's go to the struct partial definition. I believe it's this. So we've got this. We could also have the phantom data. I think I'm using the marker somewhere. It's a marker. So we would have this in the definition. Struct marker marinate. Girl, I'm going crazy for you. So basically this is deriving a phantom type out of a thing. Oh, please no one above you. Girl, I'm going crazy for you, for you. So I can also actually reuse that here and do create name. This would be the quickest way out of our misery, because the default then would then be none anyway. You got me, you got me feeling like a player. Baby, ooh, no. I like the way you hug. Anywhere you go, anywhere you be, would you blow me a kiss? Anywhere you go, anywhere you be, would you blow me a kiss? Bother me the annotation that says Saturday skip, just skip actually. I entirely want to skip the Saturday skip. Let's put this. Yep. That's the easiest way. You don't want to do all this filtering. Include struct marker phantom for struct for partial updater struct in case generics come from fields we are skipping entire such as relation field and IDs which are read. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Unperceivable. No way. Said I can do it alone. This should actually just be private, but. Say I can do it alone. Yeah. You believe you achieve it. Stand on your feet and say to them, no, no, no way. Yep. Struct marker ident. I'm gonna close that, open that again, and actually smooth and cargo. Okay. Struct marker. Oh, I see. I'm putting it in the repeated field. So it should be out of that. And same with the edge. This should be out here. And let's go to node. I should probably move a lot of these things, like dry them out, because they're just repeated everywhere. Yep. But we'll have pattern including comma here. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Let's make it consistent. So okay, I'm doing that here. God knows why, but I am doing that. Let's also remove it from there. So about good dinner can actually yep. Struct Sheffield. Okay. Test serialize is not implement for rocket partial. Interesting. See what it's complaining about. There's a comma missing somewhere. Okay. So it has to be present. Didn't realize that. Oops, I'm missing a comma here. Let's reopen this. Struct partial fields. Yeah, but now we're including the comma. Arbitrary. Yes, I think probably better to do this way. We got this. not included in the last place. It just doesn't tell that. So partial pressure. Should I do this struct? Take a little break. I'm thinking if I should also do the struct cross validation. Nah. Yeah, I might want to do that. So what do I mean by that? For example, you shouldn't be able to have something like, let's start with the simplest scenario. Score and so if you would put something like string here, it shouldn't work. We had a validation, cross validation before, but I don't think we do anymore. So this still compiles, and that's not ideal, because even when you specify the type, we should do some form of cross validation. So I'll first close this, and let's first go to node. Where we have our static assertion, we could go to field type assertion. I think so. We're not doing that for basic fields, and we should. So that's where we're gonna come now. I'll take a little break. So we can check the basic types. So I guess we can let's do, yes, I don't even think we need this primitive check. We used to do this. Anyway, I think I'll take some break now. I need to go take a walk and get some stuff from outside, get some fresh air. But what I'm essentially trying to do is a cross validation for the field type. When you specify the database type, we want to check. So for example, if you specify the database type to be a number and you're specifying the field type, like concrete type, to be a string, obviously that should be that should show a compile time error, right? So that's essentially what I'm trying to do. So when I get back, I will do this cross validation. I did have it previously, but I removed it somehow. So for example, when you specify a field type to be, in this case, if it's gonna be like string, this is gonna fail at compile time. but if it's gonna be like unsigned bit 32 bits integer, it's gonna pass because that's a number, because it's convertible to number. Then another stuff I want to do is to do filter out the reference lifetime from the type. Yep. Anyway, thanks to you guys for joining, and I will be back again. See you guys soon.